Welcome to Cars You Can Fix. Today we're going to be replacing the water pump on a 2017 Mazda 6. We're going to be using a Mazda OEM water pump, O-ring, and Peak Original Equipment Technology green coolant. We're going to go ahead and remove the passenger side front tire first. We have an under panel we got to take off and another panel on the side right here we got to get out. Okay, down under here in the front, you're going to find some 10mm bolts. They go along the front a little bit. Pull all those out. You have some plastic clips here we got to get out. And for the clips, I just use a panel popper. Pull them out like that. So this panel had 8 screws and 6 clips. Now we're going to remove this panel. Get a couple clips here, up here. There's one down here and one behind here. We're going to pull this out to get a little bit of access back here. Now we have access to the belt, and there's the water pump up there. Before we remove the belt, we're going to loosen the water pump pulley bolts. It's going to be an 8mm wrench. I'm going to come up here from the top and just get them this way, like from here. Get down in here and loosen these bolts up. I'll try to. Alright, that one broke loose. Broke that one loose. Alright, broke it loose. Now we're going to go ahead and take off the belt. To get this belt off, I'm going to turn this crank pulley. It's a 21mm. I'm going to use like a hook tool kind of thing to pull the belt like towards me while I'm turning to get this to walk off. Okay, so I got a big ratchet. Just going to turn it just like that. Okay, got the pulley to walk off, and I just replaced this belt not too long ago, so we're going to reuse it. If you're going to be replacing this belt, there's a tensioner up here. You just loosen that and this comes off easily. Now you're just going to take out the bolts for the water pump pulley. And then just remove your pulley from the bottom. And here's the reason we're replacing the water pump. It was starting to leak. Now go ahead and get your catch pan ready. So here you can see on the new pump, there's 3 bolts we're going to be taking off. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove these 3 10mm bolts. And I'm going to finish off removing them by hand. And there's an electrical harness that's on the water pump. It looks like you got to basically squeeze in the tabs from this side and the top side. And then this will pop right out. and get that final upper bolt out. Now we're going to let the coolant drain. I'm going to twist on this a little bit, pull it around. And just let that coolant come out. If you pull it too hard, this thing will pop off and you have coolant rushing everywhere. Now if we go around and take a look from the back here, you see the water pump is held in, it goes into that inlet pipe right there. We're going to rock that water pump back and forth and try to pull it off. Okay, it feels like it's ready to go. You gotta do quite a little bit of wiggling in there to get this off, but it does eventually start to come out. Just give it pressure towards the frame, towards the passenger side. Okay, and there it is. There's an O-ring that sits on the outside of that pipe. We're going to use a hook tool and pull that off. We'll be replacing that with the OEM O-ring. Now we're going to clean the water pump gasket face and also the water inlet pipe where the O-ring sits. Just going to get a rag with some brake spray and clean it down. Here's our new O-ring. And we're going to lube it up with a little bit of a Seal Glide lubricant. That'll aid in putting the water pump on. It'll slide on a lot easier. I just slipped the new O-ring on. Fits on real easy, just pop it right on. We're going to go ahead and put the new water pump in. You see it has 2 guide pins. And that'll hold it right in place where it needs to be. Now go ahead and put your bolts in, feeding them in by hand. And these water pump bolts are supposed to be torqued down to about 17 foot-pounds. Just using my 1/4-inch ratchet to get in here and snug these up. Top bolt's a little bit more of a pain to get to. And when you're tightening your bolts, make sure you tighten the top one first, followed by the middle one, followed by the lowest one for your final tightenings. Now we got the water pump bolted up. Go ahead and put your electrical connector. that tab right in there. Now we're going to put the pulley on the new water pump. We're just going to put the bolts on finger tight. Now that they're all snug down by hand, we're going to go ahead and install the belt. Once the belt's on, we can torque these bolts down. We're going to feed the belt up and around, get it on that crank pulley, and then work it on the pulley for the water pump. And it's going to go up maybe about 9 o'clock-ish. We're going to get our big ratchet, 21 millimeter, put it on here and see if we can walk that on. Yeah, I'm going to start turning it. Let's see if we can get this to walk on. Looks like it's going. And there it is. We're on the water pump pulley and we're on the crank pulley in the grooves. And we're going to go ahead and give the final tighten to those water pump pulley bolts. And these bolts are supposed to be torqued down to about 8 foot-pounds. Just going to set that bolt to the back. It's a little easier to tighten up. And we're almost done. Now we're going to fill it up with coolant and bleed the system. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and put the panels back on, the side panel and the panel underneath. Now I've already pre-mixed the coolant. I'm going to go ahead and top off the radiator now. Got about just under a gallon in there. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. And we're going to go ahead and put our cap back on the radiator. And we have the coolant tank right up to the full line. Now we're going to turn it on and let it idle and come up to temperature. Set your temperature to hot so the coolant can flow through the heater core. Now that we're starting to warm up, we're going to rev it up to 2500 RPM and hold it there for 5 minutes. And then after the 5 minutes, we're going to rev it up to 3000 RPM for 5 seconds. We're supposed to do this twice. It's been about 5 minutes now. We're going to rev it up to 3000 for 5 seconds. And now I'm going to shut the car off since this was the second time we've done this. And let the engine cool down and then check the coolant levels. So the car's cooled off now and the coolant level did go a little bit lower in the reservoir here. We're now below the full line. I pulled the cap off and it looks like we might be a little bit low. I'm going to go ahead and top that off just to be sure. Okay, so it took a little bit of coolant, not a whole lot. Now I'll top off the coolant reservoir until we get to the full line. And we're all done. This is Cars You Can Fix. Thanks for watching.